Then for one of the semi-finals, it will be France against Spain. I tell you what, you watch the first exchanges of this game, you thought Spain are going to run away with this match. They absolutely dominated things. They deservedly took the lead, but then out of nowhere, Belgium get the equaliser. And then it was pretty much a fair contest. Difficult to call. Spain had their chances. Belgium were organised defensively, frustrated Spain. But in the end, it's a goalkeeping error that gives Marino the winner. As Spain beat Belgium by 2-1. Alex is with us as well, who was bragging before that she told us that Marino scored the winner. But she said it in extra time, so it's null and void. You lose your bet. Well done.
Well, surely it counts.
No, you can't walk into a bookies and go, please. No.
Come on. Score the winner.
You've only got...
And he did. We believe in Mikel Marino.
You've only got to be... You don't even have to be in the same building, but you only have to be in the same show as Frank Leboeuf, and you get this bragging just comes naturally.
Yeah, we just...
You know what you're talking about. I'm so humble, you know.
It comes off everyone.
And saying that, are you going to start bragging? Because you've been going on about Spain haven't let the tournament up, and I suppose today, again, they were not great.
But they were the better team.
They were the better
like
team.
The Spanish side that seemed to have belief in themselves.
They were the better team, but that wasn't a surprise. What was a surprise was how compact Belgium were defensively. Mm-hmm. And it took a mistake from the goalkeeping change, unfortunately for Lamens, who had a great season at Man United. Courtois looked very emotional when he went off. That was a telling sign that even if Belgium had got through, he looked as if he knew his tournament was over. And yeah, I mean, they didn't. In truth, Belgium didn't create a lot of chances, and that was shown up in the graphic there. But the fact that they held Spain for as long, I think, is a testament to their organisation. They are a little limited going forward, but once again, we're left wanting a bit more from this Spanish side, wanting a bit more from Lamine Yamal. Yeah, he's got some great substitutes. He's got some great choices. He played Fabian Ruiz today. He could play Pedri. He could play Dani Olmo, which he did. He could play Mikel Marino from the start, who's been effective again. So De La Fuente's got a lot of choices. But once again, I would call it a little bit of a labouring Spanish display. Now, if it is the French, when they meet the French, in the semi-final, they're going to have to up their game big time. They can have all the ball they want.
Sure.
They can have all the ball they want. But if they don't do enough with it in the final third to punish this French team, they will get punished at the other end. That was the first goal they lost in the tournament, by the way. So defensively, they've been good, but they're going to have to be better when they play France.
We'll look ahead to France a little bit later on, Shaq. What surprised me is how good they looked.
Yeah.
And that goal just seemed to completely take them by surprise. They were blindsided and didn't recover from it, really, until we see the winner.
Well, I thought a couple of things with Belgium in particular. I still feel that France is a little bit right side heavy with Lamine Yamal and Pedro Porro. Spain, excuse me, with Lamine Yamal and Pedro Porro. And early on in the game, what happened, Jeremy Doku was having to drop in with De Kuyper to cope with that side of Spain. But as the game went on, Doku started to play higher and higher up, and that kind of pinned Porro back. I said to De Kuyper, you go 1-on-1 with Yamal, we'll take our chances. And Belgium grew into the game. As I think we all predicted Spain to go through. They're the better side, certainly have the better individuals. But I, for one, I know some people will brag about the results, and they picked it. I thought it would have been a lot more thorough from a Spanish point of view.
Talk to me about the goalkeeper, sure.
It's a goalkeeper mistake. It's as simple as that. It was there to be caught. It was not a ball to be parried, but just hit him in bad part of his hand, come down, hit him in his stomach or his leg, and popped out.
Can I diminish a little bit his guilt on that manner, because nobody came out to block Kubasi when he shot, and they allowed him to take his time and to shoot, which I think is the first error. Of course, after you're more than an expert than I am to say if a goalkeeper made a mistake or not. But I really think that Kubasi had all the time to be precise, and the rebound before he went into Lamens made the shot hard to stop as well.
There's making a mistake, and he's had a great season.
Yeah.
And he's replacing arguably the world's best goalkeeper in Thibaut Courtois. Mm-hmm. But there's making a mistake at your club, which you can put that right 3 or 4 days later. And there's making a howler like that in a quarter-final of a World Cup against a huge local rival with a few minutes to go, where there's really little time that your teammates can make amends. That's going to take a lot of soul searching, because when it happens, goalkeepers always make mistakes, like outfield players. And usually when they do, there's something catastrophic in a football parlance comes from it. But as I said, you can always put that right. He cannot put that right for 4 years if he gets that opportunity. So he is going to be absolutely gutted this evening.
And at the same time, credit Kubasi in kind of recognizing that moment. Courtois goes off, Lemons comes in, and as good as he's been, as we all recognize, that's a difficult situation coming in for the world number one goalkeeper, certainly in my opinion, in a game, in a World Cup quarter-final. Kubasi gave him way too much room, as everybody alludes to, but he recognizes that Lemons can't be settled. And it's a difficult circumstance for him, and just tries a shot that he would not have tried on Thibaut Courtois. And it paid dividends.
Alex, we talk about the depth in squad for the French side. Spain, when you can bring on the likes of Pedri and Ferran Torres, it is an example of how deep they are.
Yeah, the squad is unbelievable if you look at it, isn't it? And I know we're saying that Lamine Yamal maybe hasn't reached the heights that is expected of him, but I just wanted to give you some insight into what happens when Lamine Yamal is on the ball. There was a guy in our row that went to get a drink or wherever he went. He comes back and he said, "What happened? What happened? What did I miss?" And it turns out Lamine Yamal had just got the ball and there's that much excitement, everyone off their feet. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? And it's incredible, a player that can generate that much excitement. But there's so much quality all over the pitch. They don't really make mistakes, but I still think they're going to need to play better if they want to beat France.
Yeah,
How would you rate Lamine Yamal today?
Well, I just wanted to go to the point, you know. He's a young player and he's really talented, but I didn't see him today. I barely saw him. He was good.
The first half, he had some good...
Well, on the first pass,
he had some really good
The pass that
touches.
they gave to Pedro Porro on the Spanish goal was great, but it's not enough. Well, and he has all the excuses he needs because he was injured and he tries to get back into the best shape. But really, that's not the Lamine Yamal that I have known, and I'm still expecting much more. And I want to talk about Olmo. I want to talk about Oyarzabal. We have to talk about Merino. That scoring goals like that would put him on the bench for every games. That's terrible. But the guy has no chance to start a game because the coach knows so well that when he comes in, he's a threat for the opponent. So that will put him on the bench. But yes, we want to see more. Yes, he's a young, fantastic kid who has all the tools to become one of the greatest in the world. But we didn't see that right now. So.
Do you know what I've noticed with Lamine Yamal since he's came back from this 2 months off from the hamstring, which is difficult for any player, is that he's doing some really good stuff at times, but the end product that we've seen in his fledgling career, the first touch he had in the first half when he came inside from a long ball was a magnificent touch, took the defender out of play with the first touch. The second touch he got it on his left foot, and then his shot was weak. He had a couple of weak shots, he had a couple of weak crosses that really floated into the goalkeeper. And I think it's that part of his game at the moment where he's not quite sharp. He can still beat the guy and he can drop the shoulder, but where we've watched him whip the ball in the top corner almost, at will, these are kind of getting scuttled wide at the moment, or he's dragging them, or his cross is a little bit overhit. So he's just lacking that little sharpness. And maybe in his mind as well, somebody has to say to him, listen, do the simple thing now and again. Don't always try and be the match winner. Don't always try and be the star. If they're doubling up on you, then pop it off to somebody else. And it just feels a little bit like at the moment he's trying too hard to get on that front foot to being the player that he was before the injury.
Agreed. Listen, Lamine Yamal, we know his talents. We feel that this he's going to have to carry the Spanish team if they are to go certainly any further in the tournament, given that they come up against France. He said himself that he grows into the tournament, that he gets better as it goes on. But we're still waiting to see that. But at the same time, if you want to draw some comparisons between this Spain and the Spain that won the Euros and the support that he had from Williams and Olmo, that also isn't there. And while we could be critical of Lamine Yamal, certainly given his very high bar, who stood up for Spain?
I don't think we're being critical of him. I think we're just looking at how he's progressing from his injury at the end of the season.
I think it's fair, given where his status is, where he set his bar.
His average performances is kind of somebody's good performance.
Yeah.
Where he set his bar, we judging him against his own self. And he hasn't been that yet this tournament. But then in this game, with maybe the exceptions of Mika Merino coming off the bench, I'm not sure who else you can say was.
Yeah. Alex, meanwhile, for the opposition, it is officially the end of the golden generation, isn't it, for Belgium? Kevin De Bruyne and Lukaku, you wouldn't expect them to be back maybe for the next World Cup.
No, you definitely wouldn't. I think it was actually a really sad image for Thibaut Courtois as well when you saw him. He was in tears, wasn't he, at the end of the match? And they've been such a brilliant team. I think we were talking about Roberto Martinez as well when Portugal went out. He managed that incredible Portugal team at this World Cup, an incredible Belgium team, and only really won one trophy with both of them. And it feels like this Belgium side should and could have won more. But I do feel for them because they're top players, aren't they? And they just haven't really reached their potential on an international level, have they?
De Bruyne are gone.
Yep.
We saw Axel Witsel come on. He's got many caps. He'll be done. Thibaut Courtois, you may argue, but he's a goalie. They get it easy.
That's the statement.
Well, I don't know how we reach here.
You think how many years we've talked about Belgium and that generation from Company to Hazard to
2014.
Dries Mertens.
It's incredible, and this is the end of it. But they've probably exceeded expectations getting this far.
I think so, yeah. And actually, the big performance for them, really, and they can take a lot of heart as it, is how they destroyed the US. Bearing in mind the scandal, and it was a scandal that was really going on around the Balogun being allowed to play. They harnessed that and put in their best performance of the World Cup by a stretch because they had been pretty poor. And they had been a dull watch up until that US game, and they flexed a few muscles in that game. But this was just a little bridge too far, even against a Spain side that aren't playing brilliant at the moment. They may do against France. They probably will have to do against France in the semi-final. But this was... They really hit the buffers here, Belgium, in terms of how far they could go and the quality of this group. And yeah... They're just one of these countries that bring through a lot of players and then they disappear and you're searching for the next superstars. Norway, we're going to, they're playing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Norway were at a World Cup in '98 and then were never at a World Cup again. I think this might be the first World Cup. They had a terrible team. For years and years, they brought nobody through, literally. And all of a sudden, they've got this plethora of quality players and a big star name up front and Erling Haaland. Sometimes it can be years to replace these icons, the companies in the
Hazard. York, Shaka Hislop, that sort of
It takes a long time to replace those guys.
When Scotland get knocked out in the World Cup in '98, just look what happened.
You know what? 82, 86, France had a great generation and ended up losing twice in the semi-final against Germany. And then after, there was a good generation with Papin, Cantona, Ginola, and some others, but didn't achieve anything with on top of it not going to the World Cup 90 and 94, so it took a little time.
Where's this story going, I wonder?
Well, before I arrived.
Somebody went...
And then Frank arrived.
Only Zlatan Ibrahimovic can say stuff like that.
Frank, it's Spain next in Dallas.
That's gonna be another game. I mean, I don't want to take this game representing what Spain can do against France. That's gonna be another game, and Lamine Yamal maybe gonna be better, and he's gonna face Digne, who we know is a good player, but hasn't been for Aston Villa the best player or the best right back in left back in the world, but. I'm thinking about having, again, Doué, Dembélé, Mbappé and Olise together against Cucurella, Pedro Porro, Laporte and Koubarsi. That's going to be difficult for them.
Do you know what was interesting today, even against this Belgium side that had De Ketelaere up front, up front, and Doku with his pace trying to get up, was this, and I don't know if they'll do this against France or whether they will change their whole mentality. But when Spain were possessing the ball and attacking and prodding, they were pretty much leaving themselves man for man at the back.
Well,
now that's, against Mbappe and Dembele, those boys, that could be a disaster for them.
It could be a disaster. But on the right side, they try, playing like they always do nowadays, where two guys come for the best player on the left side or the best player on the right side. So they try to cover each other, but it's not going to be enough.